Big news broke this morning. The Flyers avoid arbitration and agree to deal with Brayden Schenn. Joining us to talk about it is Brian Startare of SportsTalkPhilly.com and also FlyerDelphia.com. Brian, how you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing great, Josh. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So I want to get your initial reaction. The Flyers, this whole thing seemed to just come down to the wire. The arbitration hearing was supposed to be today, and they get this deal done. So what was your first reaction?
Well, I don't think anybody really likes to go to arbitration. I mean, arbitration is a factor in which sometimes feelings get hurt, and quite honestly, sometimes it's a gamble of putting a sign together. You get 90 minutes to basically tear apart your player to save some cash out there. So this was a long time coming with the negotiations. If you'd asked me if they probably paid a little too much, they probably did, but there's a lot of different variables inside, and I think both sides wanted to avoid arbitration.
It was interesting because heading into this morning, the reports that Brayden Schenn wanted $5.5 million a year. The Flyers were offering $4.7 million a year, and it looks like this deal per year is going to be about $5.125 million. So it looks like they pretty much just split the difference.
Well, they went to arbitration by themselves all of a sudden. I think you have to look at years and what exactly is going to happen past that time period. They could say they split in the middle, but arbitration is only a year or two. In an agreement, you're never going to arbitrate a 4-year deal. So what happens if Brayden Schenn comes out and has a 40-goal season next year? Well, Hextall is going to say, listen, they're going to cost him more money for that. If Brayden Schenn comes back and says he comes back and has an off year after his 26-goal season and almost 60-point performance in 80 games played, then he comes back and he says he has only a 15 or 20-goal season, well, then the Flyers have more leverage. It's all about leverage and timing. And I think Ron Hextall correctly staying point with his young players, and quite frankly, just the cost of doing business. That hey, if 26 goals and 59 points is $5 million a year in the NHL, well, so be it. I think Hextall is looking at it from a performance of, hey, he showed up physically against the Caps in the Cap series. He was one of their best players. He's still obviously very young. It's been an earmark of the Flyers organization to give up players too early, a la Justin Williams or Patrick Sharp. It goes on and on and on. So I think Hextall is, again, trying to build this properly. Could he have tried to get a lot less? Probably, but I think he said, listen, let's get 4 years and hope Brayden continues the upward trend instead of a downward trend.
Isn't part of this, Brian, also the fact that you have a young player and you're trying to show the guys on the team and other people around the NHL that we take care of our own?
Well, you take care of your own when you build guys that are worthy of being on your roster. I think, the win now mentality that the Flyers were under for such a long period of time was the fact that, you're going to spend a lot of money. And the cap situation in the NHL is pretty tough for these higher market teams. I mean, it's very difficult to keep subsidizing the rest of the NHL when you're making these moves in your cap situations. Taking care of your own is kind of a generalization there, Josh, because you want to build from within. You want to take care of your own, but I mean, you don't want to overspend either. I mean, you can look up and down the Flyers roster. I'm sure they don't want to spend $5 million on Andrew McDonald, who they got in a trade from the Islanders. I'm sure they don't want to sign. They don't want to keep paying Mark Streit the money they're owed him. They still have a $1.6 million in R.J. Umberger. So it's more business more than anything. Hextall looked at this and said, listen, can this guy give me output for $5 million, $5.1 million for 4 years? Am I going to bet against the fact that he's going to be better and better? And if he does, then it's a win-win situation. So I think that's how you have to look at it. It's more of a business decision more than anything.
We're talking with Brian Startare of
Startare,
of SportsTalkPhilly.com. Don't mind me. I'm suffering through some weird summer cold thingamajigger thing. So
that's all right.
SportsTalkPhilly.com.
Gil never says it right either. Don't worry about it.
FlyerDelphia.com as well. I have to ask you, you brought up a lot of numbers out there. How is this going to affect the Flyers' salary cap? We heard from Ron Hextall at the end of the season that they were tight with the finances already. So how is this going to affect them this upcoming season in the future?
Tighter. I mean, it probably goes right around $1 million left to play with, maybe $700,000. There's a lot of different variables. What is Brandon Manning going to get paid? what forwards make the team. You got a couple guys with some attractive salaries, and Travis Konecny, who could maybe outside make the team. Jordan Wheel, who they signed as well. If they could move a defenseman here and there, will they put Andrew McDonald in the AHL to farm his salary out so that he can save a lot of money after the season starts? So if everything comes to fruition and the roster stays the way it should, I would say it's probably right around less than $1 million of playroom. But again, in a year or two, Hextall's not going to have these problems. They don't have some money to spend. But these are the sins of the way of doing business in the past. So he has to continue this until he can get cap friendly.
Overall, what do you think of the Flyers offseason so far between Schenn and then the smaller signings they've made, kind of to fill different gaps here and there?
It's not much of an offseason. I mean, Dale Weiss is a third or fourth line player. I mean, I think he's better than Ryan White. I think he'll do more for the club. In fact, I kind of was a fan of his play when he played in Montreal, Weiss. But I think that there's not really much to talk about. I like the fact that they are drafting well. I think they did a great job with their number 1, second round picks. I like the fact that Konecny from last year is on the rise. So you love the fact that they're staying stable with their defensive core coming up with Travis Sanheim and Ivan Provorov, who should make the team, and Robert Hagg and a host of others that they have a lot of talent on the defensive side. So, I mean, patience is an ugly and crazy word, especially in Philadelphia. But when you do business a certain way for a long period of time and you live in a cap world, these decisions, every offseason can't be a splash. Every offseason can't be a giant party, and this is the situation where the Flyers are in. So not big news, but they should be a better hockey club, and they're building in the right direction.
I have a question about you with the goalies, and not specifically who should or shouldn't start, because with the NHL having the expansion draft, with Las Vegas coming around, there's a lot of talk around the NHL about teams looking to unload goalies here and there because they know they can only hold on to one in the expansion draft. So I want to ask you, that situation is something that may preempt the Flyers to at some point maybe move one of their 2 goalies.
Well, I mean, if it came down to both, I've just been always a fan of Michael Neuvert. I think he had a great offseason, but I think Steve Mason is still an NHL quality goaltender. I don't think the problems of the past in the net have been a problem with the Flyers. In fact, I don't think they lost that series against the Capitals because of goaltending, and they lost the last game, 1-0. So, again, expansion drafts, you see the rules of who's protected and who's not. If I had to choose between the 2, I'd probably take Neuvert. I just get a feeling the way he likes to play. I think the Flyers play a little better in front of him for some reason. But again, Mason's a good goaltender. I think he's very underrated. I know he's had some tough times. He has problems staying healthy, but and the Flyers, remember, the Flyers have a lot of great goaltending in their system. They drafted 3 last year. They just signed another one this year, which was the best prospect in the draft. So I think the Flyers' ills of goaltending is going to be the thing of the past. So I think it's going to be a moot point.
Why do you think the Flyers play better in front of Neuvert?
Good question. I thought you asked the guys. I mean, you should ask the players themselves. I mean, certainly, I don't know. I think that maybe they think they had to play a different style. Some guys move the puck a little more differently here and there. There's a lot of things that go into it. I just got that feeling that the Flyers played more confidently under Neuvert. But again, let's not make this out against Steve Mason. I think Steve Mason, again, a very good goaltender. It's just sometimes you get a feel for that. I mean, either way, they're in a decent situation. I just think, to me, that Neuvert kind of can steal a game here and there. I don't have that kind of feeling with Mason. Although he's consistent and above average, I always feel that Neuvert is a guy that can steal a game for you.
One final question before I let you go. Let's circle back to Brayden Schenn here. What do you think the trajectory is for his career? Because he's only 24 years old, turning 25. He did have 59 points last season. He had the best season of his career, but he is only 24. So what can we expect from him as he gets better and as he hits the prime?
Well, again, if you're looking for Brayden Schenn to lead your team in goals, I think you have a problem there. I mean, it's just that the most important part of Schenn's play was I thought he really stepped up his game, the physical sense, and a leadership role on that forward spot against the Caps in a meaningful series, in a playoff series. If you're asking me to project, well, then I'm probably in the wrong business. I'd like to give you some lottery numbers or be a scout or somewhere else. But the way I look at his game, I think he's a gifted player. I think he's going to get better. Again, this is the time where you're starting to get better. I mean, players get in their prime at 26, 27, 28, 29. So you're looking at 4 years locked up now. Hopefully Hextall's rolling the dice and saying, listen, here's $5.1 million. Let's see if we can get our money's worth on this deal. But I think Brayden Schenn is going to be a popular and good piece to the puzzle of the Flyers in the future. They've locked up one of their forwards. They have G and Voracek now locked up for a long period of time. If they can infuse some youth and then get rid of some of that salary that's been bogging them down on the back end when they have their young guys coming up, well, then they could spend some money in the coming years in free agency, and things are going to get real interesting around here in probably about 2 years.
All right, I'll see if I get it right this time. We've been talking with Brian Startare.
That's correct.
All right, there we go. I was thinking Atari. I was thinking Atari, the video game. So
heard that before. No problem.
Brian Startare, sportstalkphilly.com, flyerdelphia.com, and give him a follow on Twitter as well. Brian, appreciate you coming on this afternoon.
Hey, thanks a lot, Josh. I appreciate it. And by the way, if I may, you guys could check out Eagledelphia for all the latest on the Eagles training camp, as well as our buddy Frank Close, my partner, on Philadelphia as well.
We'll have Frank Close on tomorrow for the Phillies mailbag, so there you go.
All right. Well, appreciate it, Josh. Have a great day.